Hey everyone, welcome to Conversation number 16. My guest today is Dr. Jacob Harden. He's a doctor of the chiropractic, and I've been following him for about the better part of a year now because of his wonderful information, easy to follow, and he's just an all-around awesome guy, and I'm very excited to have him here today. So please help me welcome him. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, man. I'm super excited to chat today.
Yeah. I've been following you, like I said, for the better part of a year, and it has been quite the trip following you because it's been so easy to check out your information, so easy to watch what you're putting out, and I really am very appreciative of what you're doing. And I know we were talking a little bit offline, like I'm very, like as your own viewer, like as somebody face to face, like a client to you, I'm telling you, like what you're doing is awesome, and you're just very energetic person, very passionate about what you do, and it's easy to see, and like your content is really easy to follow. So I'm very appreciative of all the work that you put in there. It's clear to see.
Oh, thanks, man. Like it's always really good to hear that from someone, because I put stuff out on the internet. Obviously, people comment, say thank you and everything, but it's always just nice to get like face to face with somebody and kind of get the feedback on it. Because my thing is like I'm always just trying to push the envelope of what that platform can do and what I can do with it. So it's always good to know what the message is getting across.
Yeah, and it's always changing. I know, like at least when we're recording this, they just launched IGTV. Seems like maybe I don't know if it's in competition with YouTube or just another avenue to put more information out there for extended information. But I know like they implemented the videos on Instagram, like I think probably like a couple of years ago now. But it just keeps on growing, and I think what's important and what you clearly and obviously do is you grow with it. The technology is going to change, and you just have to be able to adapt and utilize the tools best for yourself. And like I said, offline again and a little bit in the introduction, and now like what you're doing, you're clearly utilizing those tools, and I absolutely love watching everything you're doing. And I've had a lot of injuries myself, and I've been watching it, and it's extremely easy to use, and I think that's what makes it great is your content is so well organized, and it's like, all right, so my upper back, your lower neck hurts today, like where do I go? And you just scroll through, and it's really easy to see that. So I love what you're doing, man. I really do.
I've been, so in June, it was like mid-June, I crossed the 2-year mark of posting something every single day for 2 years.
Holy smokes.
And so and I've just always kind of had the goal, like my goal has been, I want to help one person a day. So like as long as I met my goal of one person a day, I felt like it was worth putting that up or putting that out there, and that's let me put out some stuff that I know probably wasn't going to be popular, but needed to be out there. Like I did a video on like thumb pain, and
but there's somebody out there that's got to have
somebody out there had it, and realistically I've probably sent that video out to people via DM like 20 times now, because it's something that like people don't necessarily come into the comments being like, oh, you got anything on thumb pain? Like they just send me a message asking like, what can I do about this thing? I'm like, oh, I have a video on that. So I'm like, I'm glad that I put it out there, and it's all about kind of just like playing that long game for me of like, I had this idea like a year and a half ago of like, I want to create a library for everyone. Like I want to just create this,
and it's funny you say that,
encyclopedia library that you can basically just scroll through on this app, and it's going to have anything and everything you want as long as you're willing to put in the time to go find it.
That's kind of how I already feel. Like I was saying earlier, like scrolling through your Instagram, like I'm just scrolling through it, and I feel like, oh man, it's easy to find. So I mean, creating something like that would be it would be abundantly clear that it would be a great tool for anybody to have, because if your Instagram, which is not necessarily built really for that like a library thing, what you're thinking, but like when I'm looking at yours as a user, and it's easy to do that already on like another app, I guess is what I'm saying, then when you build something specifically for that, I think that'd just be a great idea, man.
I think I'll probably go that route at some point, of putting things on like a website where it's searchable and all that stuff. But I mean, even just right now, like the thinking about like how I've laid out the content and everything, the goal was make it as easy as possible for you guys to go on and find what you need. And it seems like that is effective, because I've heard now multiple times, you know, you've said it and other people have said it, that like I love the layout. And so that always kind of like reaffirms, like as many times as I've thought about changing the layout, I'm like, no,
give the people what they want.
I got to do it this way because it's what, and like, because that layout doesn't necessarily get me the most views on my videos, but it's best for my audience. Yeah, and so I think like that's what I'm always trying to keep in mind. Is like what's best for my audience.
Yeah, and it's difficult. And you know, again, we were chatting kind of on email. And I was telling you what this project was about, and I've only been doing this maybe like 3 or 4 months now, and I'm in the process of figuring that out for myself. And I see a lot of that already. And obviously, it's like a continuance. You're always trying to better yourself, better your project or whatever it is you're doing, your work. Your place of business. But in the beginning, like now, it's like, well, which path do I do? It's hard to figure out which exactly tracks to lay down.
You just have to do it. Like you just have to do something and see what happens, and if it is good, then you go with it. If it's not good, you pivot.
Yeah, lots of experimentation.
I mean, yeah, it's a ton of experimentation, because like I started the layout that I have now, where it's like the white title and everything on my page. I started that last October, November, but everything for a year and a half before that was, you know, other things that I have tried, and I've thrown things together in different ways, and people liked that, you know. And I think like people don't necessarily, they don't know what they want till you show them that they want it, right? So like you just got to do something, and people are gonna be like, oh, this is so cool, and then you like level it up a little bit, and they're like, oh my god, this is so cool. It's like I just started adding still shot pictures after my videos to take advantage of Instagram's gallery feature. And
I noticed that.
That was a little bit in response to algorithm changes and some of the things that I know that Instagram is looking for. So that's why I originally kind of went with it. But also it makes it easier to, now you don't have to go back and watch a full minute long video to get the gist. You can kind of just swipe over. And that was something that like I've received just immense feedback of people are just like, oh, this is so great. I loved your content before, but this like just took it up a whole nother level. It's like, and that's just the way it's going to be, especially, you know, whenever you're starting out with something, you just kind of scale as you go. Yeah,
you scale as you go, and then all those tools that you have at your disposal, more than likely, well, they might not always work for you, but in this case, they work for you because you're using the video tool, the still picture tool, and then you're able to use that, I can't remember what you called it, but the library tool, or being able to shift, you know, left or right, or whatever it is on one post. For those who are not familiar, if they're listening to this. But again, and I've mentioned Instagram quite a bit on this channel. I do most of my work on Instagram, and I reach out to most of my guests there. It's a really powerful tool, and I've been on Instagram probably for the better part of 4 or 5 years now, and just seeing the evolution of that has been quite incredible. And then for people like yourself, and eventually me, I'm happy to say, but like eventually you just keep on going with the evolution of that app, and you're able to build up your own business, I guess is what I'm getting at. It's not just like, because I know when I started it was like, hey, let's post a picture of my food, and obviously we all still do that, or, you know, it's still out there is what I'm saying, but you're able to really utilize this tool to build up an actual business and promote yourself and get your message out there. And for people like yourself that are able to reach a lot of people, that's just a phenomenal tool to have at your disposal. Yeah, I mean, being a chiro, I mean, I think everyone in healthcare is like trying to crack the social media code a little bit, because it's not, I mean, it's, you know, it's not something that I guess comes across as like visually advertising, I guess. It's kind of hard to do that. So things like, you know, it's not like I'm trying to sell you a jacket or a t-shirt. You know, I'm not a food person, so it's not necessarily super visually appealing. But it's like, so it's knowledge dissemination. How do you just give and give and give, and kind of just establish yourself as an expert in your field? And that's kind of the approach I've done. Just, I can't say that I necessarily went into it with that thought process. I mean, I went into it years back, just like, hey, I'm going to throw some stuff out here, and I hope it helps some people. And if I get some local patients out of it, that's going to be really cool. And then like 6 months in,
I was at 100,000 followers, and I didn't have to do any advertising for my clinic anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, what is going on here? Like, and it was like we kind of actually cracked the code a little bit by accident.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you how you had started, or why you had started. So you answered my preemptive question that I was getting into, because we're talking about all of this, algorithm and codes for this stuff. So I'm like, well, I wonder why he started doing everything he is now. And of course, you're still practicing, right? I mean, it's safe to assume that you're still practicing and you're doing this. Because at least on my side, it looks, I mean, like you said, you're like posting every single day for 2 years, and it looks, I mean, you put a lot of work into it, and you can tell that. It shines through because everything looks good and the information's always like great. But it's so funny, like you have your practice and you're like, well, let's just see where this goes, bring in some, hopefully some more business. And then next thing you know, and I think that speaks towards, how you take yourself and, you're passionate about your work and how knowledgeable you are, because you're just putting that information out. Like you said, you're utilizing the tool of Instagram to disseminate your information. And then when you're passionate about something and that shines through, you utilize the tool and you couple that with the passion that you have for your job. And then obviously that was like the concoction for success, like you're talking about, deciphering the code for social media. But you're obviously doing something right there.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a genuineness factor, I think, that plays in. And one thing, but I mean, there's a lot of luck that goes into growing on social media too. There's a lot of factors that just can't be tangible and can't be measured. Like, people have to like the way I talk. They have to want to stare at me for a minute each day. They, people shout, the right accounts shout me out at the right time, and all these things help. But I think there's a level of genuineness that really kind of has to come across at some point or another to really, really succeed. And I feel like that's something that I've heard from people, which makes me so happy, is they like me, which, on an account that is mostly about giving information away, people like me. And, the biggest testament to that was, I post pictures of my family here and there, just because it is a personal account at the end of the day. It's not a business account. It's me. And I put up a picture of the day my son was born, and I got 40,000 likes on that picture, which is triple anything, quadruple anything I've gotten before. And like, that said so much about like the audience and the audience that I've cultivated, and like the people. Like, and at the end of the day, it's all about the people. It's not about me. It's not necessarily about the information. It's about all of it. It's about everyone on the other end of the screen. And I think that like, keeping that in my mind has been the thing that's really kind of helped me succeed, coupled, with all that other non-tangible stuff.
No, that's really cool to hear, actually, that kind of photo would get that kind of feedback. But it makes sense, like you said. Obviously, the viewer does have to like who they're watching. They form this type of connection, at least, and I can speak for myself. Like, there's YouTubers that I really enjoy. There's people on Instagram that I really enjoy. Like I said, I've been following you at least for a year. And it's so weird to say, like, especially now, like, and I said earlier offline, like, we're meeting face to face or whatever, but like, to tell you, like, you form this connection. And so it's like, well, obviously you just met me like, 15 or 20 minutes ago, but like, since you've been putting out this great information for so long, or whatever YouTuber, like Casey Neistat, your Peter McKinnons, all these great people that I know them, quote unquote, for the people listening, but they don't know me. So I think that speaks to them. Like, they're great at, at storytelling or getting to know them. And that means they're doing it successfully, and clearly you're doing it successfully. So then it gets back to when you're posting a picture of your family, and people have this connection for you. They genuinely like you, or else they wouldn't follow your content. They wouldn't want to look at your face, hear your voice every single day, like you said. But they do, and I think, and again, I can say as a viewer myself, like, you're genuine, or you being genuine comes through. So that when you post something like that, like, I'm genuinely stoked for you. Like, congratulations. I think that's awesome. So, and that's how it works.
That's what it's about to me. It's like, I've always wanted to cultivate the relationship with the audience I have more so than just trying to grab the next follower.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, a lot of that has come down to the fact that I answer the first 100 comments on every single post, as much as I can. If my newborn son is sitting over here crying, I obviously can't get into some stuff, but I try and be in my DMs. I just try and make sure that I always keep in the back of my mind that it's a human being on the other end of that screen,
exactly.
And especially in my field, there's a human being that might be in pain on the other end of that screen, who might be struggling with something, and there's a lot of responsibility in that, and making sure that you're sending the right message and that you're caring and that you're lending an ear when you need to, and you're not being just dismissive of somebody. So
that's a very interesting point that you say that. There's a huge separation between just disseminating, not to take away from anyone else's information, but disseminating typical information, if you will, than information that could potentially help out somebody, right? Make them feel better, get them out of pain. So it's very interesting that you say that. I hadn't really thought about that before.
Yeah, I think on those things a lot. It's interesting that, to me, I think there's something that it just makes me feel so good is I'm gonna get to have a greater impact on this world than maybe 99% of people that ever lived, because I had a cell phone and a voice, and I chose to share what weird? I had.
It's crazy. It's crazy we live in a world like that, and it's beautiful
that we
can.
That's freaking amazing.
I love it.
That's freaking amazing. And so I love technology. I love what I'm able to do and what I'm able to just give out to the world. And I just want to give it all away. Yeah. I just want to give it all away, because I don't think there's any secrets in this stuff. It's more if you have the knowledge, can you put the pieces together and put in the work on it, and you're going to be able to help yourself. And I don't want to hold any of these secrets back, because we now have the tools to literally heal the world. We literally have the tools to do this, and it's right here.
Yeah.
It's right here. We just have to give it. And if we're willing to give it, then we're going to be able to help people get better. And we just have to do it. And so, that hypes me up every single day to think that I get to do that.
Yeah, I'm getting hyped just listening to you, but it's so true. I mean, I think we take it for granted because we live it every single day. We have our cell phones on us, we have our computers, all of these things, and it becomes a part of us. I mean, you always have your cell phone on you. But I think when you take a step back and you have a thought that you just, you said yourself, it's incredible to be able to have that tool and to be able to have the opportunity to disseminate that information and to be able to help so many people. And this sounds obvious when I'm saying it right now, but all over the world. I mean, you think back even 10, well, maybe, 10, 20, 30, obviously you start getting back a few decades, there's at least not so quickly to be able to disseminate that information did we have that opportunity. And then now more than ever, because obviously internet speeds are always increasing, and applications are getting quicker, and upload, download times, etc. But to be able to capitalize off that and then be able to help other people, because that is definitely what I'm trying to do here. And I know I emailed you about kind of what I'm trying to do. And to be able to give opportunities to hear somebody like yourself, well, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? How do you do it? How did you come to do it? And to have the opportunity to listen to someone like yourself, because I think, like you said, it can be so one way. The audience could be so one way. You're always, you're the one disseminating the information. But now for somebody to hear, why you're doing that and everything I just listed off is an incredible opportunity. So I'm very thankful to be able to hear why, and I'm always so excited to hear everyone's stories. I'm very appreciative of it.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, and of course there's gonna be times there's a point where it becomes a job. I don't know if you're there yet with having, what you said, episode 16.
This is 16, and I. But then again, and I know, you said yourself that you're very happy about what you're doing, you're passionate about what you're doing, and you enjoy it. But at the same time, I don't think it's, and I'm by no means saying anything negative about it. It does take a lot of time, to do everything, because I do it obviously not on iTunes and Podbean, but I'm doing it on YouTube because I enjoy people getting to, they want to see your face, they want to see my face and have a different interaction. So I want to be able to give these opportunities at least to listen and view through different mediums. And it takes a while to edit videos. It takes a while to edit audio. Even though audio might sound singular, there's a lot of dynamics that go to, my voice changing, whatever. And, I'll spare everybody the details. But yeah, it takes a lot of time and I enjoy doing it. But yeah, it's like every day I'm doing something to better it and then, maintain the social media because you have to have the consistency, of course, something that I'm learning myself.
You know what the cool thing is, though, is even though there are days where it becomes a little bit of a job, and there are days where you might want to be doing something else, I'm sure you probably feel the same way. The second you hit post, it's like you're hyped about it all over again.
Yeah.
Like, it was, and it's just like every time, you hit upload, every single time that you're like waiting to see, how are people going to respond to this? I hope they like it. And, I hope I help somebody with this. And even on those hardest days where it's like, man, I have nothing to talk about today. And like, what am I going to come up with? Or, am I going to just reuse something that I've done before? It still gets me hyped every day to like put that out there.
Yeah.
And
I have already seen that. I absolutely love it. And because, especially in what you're doing, you're trying to help people and you are helping people. I really am trying to help people and I hope I'm helping people. And I actually am lucky enough to have the opportunity to hear back from people now that I've been getting going. And, I've actually been having a fair amount of messages coming my way and saying like, hey man, this really struck a note with me, or I love that you're doing this, or how can I help? Or I even had a good friend of mine that I worked with. He reached out to a guy for me to be on the show, and I'm like, dude, that is awesome. Like, I'm so appreciative.
It's amazing.
And then actually just today, this is going to be a couple weeks later, but when we're recording this for the first time today, I had somebody direct message me on Instagram saying, hey, can you wear our clothing? And because I want to collaborate with you, like, we really like your content. And I'm just like, man, maybe I am doing something right here, because I'm up late sometimes, or sometimes I wake up extra early to do stuff, and sometimes maybe you lose sight, or like you said, am I going to reutilize information? What do I post today? And because I think you want to be able to always contribute great content and be able to help somebody out. So maybe I don't know, sometimes it can get frustrating, but when you smash that upload button, or you hear, for me, yes, I agree with you. I absolutely love posting and to get the feedback, but when I hear somebody say like, and I know you hear it, man, you fixed my thumb, like you were saying, or you fixed, whatever it is, you've definitely heard it head to toe, literally. But when somebody's they reach out to me and they say that I helped them, or more so the guest, struck a note with them, and that means the world to me, truly, and that's what it's about. Because that's why I'm doing it, so I'm so stoked for that. But
yeah, it always comes down to like, you're doing it, we do it for the audience, like it's. And that's there's that genuineness factor, and that's why you're going to succeed, right? Like, that's, to me, I really believe this. That is why you're going to succeed, is you have the genuineness factor. You're obviously putting in the hard work every single day to do it, and it's just a matter of time at that point before you're going to break through. Like, you just got to keep meeting the right people, getting the right people on, forming the right relationships, and like, you're going to get there because you actually care.
I appreciate it.
Like, you're doing it for the right reasons. And, anyone can grow a following. Like, anyone can grow something. You just put something out there, it's going to grow. Mm-hmm. But, to get to the upper echelons of your field, you have to care. Mm-hmm. And like, because you can't hide that stuff at some point.
No, especially because I think a lot of times, and what you're saying, I definitely agree with, and the fact of sometimes you can build a following real quick, depending on what it is, but I think there's a certain point where, because you're being exposed so much and because you're posting so much content, that if you don't have that authenticity and that genuine feeling, or that, when I don't know, if you watch somebody so consistently, and just like you're saying, you get to know somebody, that one-way relationship, you can see when something's not genuine or fake, or when even somebody fake smiles in a photo. That's like a simplistic, I guess, example that I can think of about. But you're right, and you can't. And to me, I guess, and again on Instagram, I see tons and tons and tons, thousands of accounts that have a few thousand followers. They do something similar, but it's the people that and you see. Or it's the people that have, the hundreds of thousands or the millions of followers that are really doing something right because they care about it. Obviously, I'm not talking about like celebrities that just automatically have all these,
Some things happen.
Yeah, but no, you're exactly right. You have to be genuine to come through about it. So, kind of leads me to another question. Speaking about being passionate about what you're doing, is there a reason maybe you got into practicing chiro?
To be honest with you, I kind of fell into it.
Yeah, well, that's how it happens sometimes. There's no
like I totally fell into it.
Yeah,
and it kind of came about because of just a lot of struggle, and it was like one of those stories of like I was struggling a ton, and it kind of led me out of that. So when I did my undergrad at the University of Texas, so hook 'em horns, and I was a bio major there. I was pre-med for a little bit, and I just kind of decided I didn't want to do medical, and I wasn't really sure necessarily what I wanted to do, but so I switched over to like a kind of like a pre-dental emphasis.
Okay.
And I shadowed in an office over one of my summer breaks, and it was like the worst thing in the world for me personally. I did not like it, and so I was like, great, this isn't for me either. And so when I actually graduated from undergrad with zero job prospects, zero idea what I was going to do, and I came straight out of high school, went straight through. I finished my 4-year undergrad in 3.5 years, and so like I was really just kind of burnt out.
Yeah,
like
sounds like it.
I was burnt, and so I moved back home. I moved back in with my parents coming out of undergrad in 2010, and I got a job just working customer service at Lowe's, the hardware store.
Yeah,
and so worked customer service there for like 10 months, and my parents and my family moved from Texas to Florida during like near the end of that time, and so the decision I had there was like, I can continue and stay and work in this job that isn't going to take me anywhere, or I can like move to the beach and try and figure something out there. And I was like, well, there's an easy decision. So I moved to Florida, and I was looking for a gym out there because fitness has always kind of been a big part of my life, and it's my stress reliever and all that.
Of course.
So I'm looking for a gym that has a squat rack, because all the gyms that in my area only had like leg presses or Smith machines, but nothing like I could actually go and do squats with. And I wanted to compete in powerlifting and stuff like that. So I was like, I need this. So the closest one was like 30 minutes away in this town called Port Orange. And so I go over there, and I start going to this gym, and the chiro school is actually right next to the gym that I was going to. So I was just driving by it like every single day. And my dad had been to a chiro before. He had some low back issues that he had helped him through. And I eventually, I took a tour one day, and they kind of told me what it was all about and how you could, be hands-on with people. And I kind of started to, I was lucky I went to a school that was very welcoming of like a movement-based approach, which is what I do now, because that's not necessarily the way it is in all the schools. And so I started to get this thought of like, oh, wow, like this, I could be like hands-on, I could do like, I could help athletes, I could have kind of a sports-based practice. And I started to kind of form this in my mind, this process of like this picture, I guess, of what I'm doing now. And so I literally filled out my application that afternoon.
Wow. And
just submitted it. Like, it was one of those like, okay, I'm here, this feels right, I'm doing it, I'm not gonna wait. I'm just going to do it because it's a huge investment. If I overthink it, I'm not going to do it. I'll talk myself out of it. I know myself.
Pull the trigger.
And yeah, so it's like, pull the trigger, just go and do this. And like, don't let yourself second guess it. So I did that, and I wasn't supposed to get into the class I got into. So they run on quarter system. So every 3 months they bring in a new class, and the class was going to start in October. And I wasn't supposed to get into that class because of just when I applied. I was supposed to have to wait till January. And I basically just like told my advisor, I was like, no, like I don't need time. Like I'm good to go. And I was like, if you get me in this class, like I'm gonna get valedictorian of this class. Like I'm gonna outwork every single person in this class. Like no one's gonna stop me from this.
Hell yeah.
And and they let me in. They let me into that class.
Good for you.
I got second in the class. I got salutatorian. I got second. I didn't get first. Someone else very much earned that title.
Yeah, which is going to happen, but I think you went in with the mindset of like, I'm going to absolutely crush this, and I'm going to do everything that I possibly can.
Yeah,
and I think that's an amazing example, and this is why, again, this is the epitome of why I love to hear these examples. Like, well, a lot of times people just see, well, man, this is Dr. Jacob Harden. He has all these followers, a successful business, or whatever. This is what people are thinking, but man, you were working at Lowe's, and there's nothing wrong with that. That just wasn't the path for you, obviously. And then that path is why I was ready to work so hard. Okay.
Like, if you had to ask me when I graduated from UT in December of 2010 and asked me to go and dedicate another $200,000 and 3.5 years of my life to, a 30 credit hour course load,
jeez,
like I would have been like crying myself to sleep at night. There's no way I could have done that.
Yeah.
But the burnout and taking that time off and putting myself in a job that I saw no future in.
No, those
are
great points.
Like, that put me in a position where I was ready to go in and work hard. I was ready to push myself to this new limit that I had never been to before, because like the fire was so in me. I had hit so far into rock bottom to like, you're talking to yourself of like, what the hell am I doing? Like I don't know where the future is. And I think whenever you've been there, whenever you've been to that point of like, I don't know what the future even holds for me, but I know that this isn't it.
Yeah.
When you finally find that thing that you start to see the future in, like you're ready to just give everything to that. And that's where I was entering into it. And that's why I was able to do that. And so I did. And, 3.5 years later, it was good that I made that decision when I did.
That's an incredible story. I love hearing these stories. Thank you for sharing that. Wow, that's very cool. And I think maybe I can see that in myself. I've had some jobs that I can use. I mean, I love the job that I was telling you again offline, but again, as we're recording this, is the last day of this job that I'm doing right now, and I'm transitioning into something completely new. And I liked my job, and I actually loved lots of parts of it, but I couldn't see myself doing it forever, hence why I left. And it was because I didn't not because I definitely couldn't see what I wanted to do in the future, but it kind of ignited a fire within me. Like, I know that I don't necessarily like what I'm doing currently. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm sure as going to work my butt off to figure out what it is that I want to do. And I'm kind of comparing it to when you're working at Lowe's, and the most recent place that I was working with wasn't so fast paced, and I knew that wasn't something that I wanted to do. And then when you have that little bit of time to think, and for sure that's not what you want to do, that wasn't the path that you wanted to do, and then to me it's just so funny, you're constantly passing that place, and then you finally went in, but you figure out what you want to do. That you don't want to do something, you figure out that, hey, I'm going to make a decision here. And then I think that one of the important things to take away here from many important things that you said is that you committed to it. You weren't even going to get in the class, for that quarter or that semester. But you told the guy, like, I'm going to get in there. Like, I need to be in there. I'm ready to get in there. And, I'm not even to just get in the class. I'm going to be the best. And then you went in with this amazing, optimistic, soul-crushing attitude, that you're just going to crush everything in your path and you're going to do whatever it takes to be successful. And another, I think, good thing to take away from here is, maybe you didn't get valedictorian, but there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you said second, right?
Yeah.
Which is still.
I mean, we all graduate with the same degree at the end of the day.
And that's what I'm saying.
That title means nothing.
Yeah, and
it was just.
I think it still speaks towards a lot of what you were doing.
That was the thought process that I put in my own head. That was like, I'm not going to slow down.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to slow down.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. I know it's kind of a lame saying, like, what is it? Shoot for the stars and you'll hit the moon. But you shot for being, the valedictorian, and you may have quote unquote fallen short, but you still achieved great success. And yes, you still get the same degree, but maybe because of going in with that mindset that you're just going to absolutely crush the training that they're giving you, that perhaps you learned substantially more. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with why you're so successful now. Coming in with that mindset, teaching yourself to practice that mindset throughout that schooling, and then because you're forming these successful habits, you carry that on into what you're doing right now.
Definitely. I think there's definitely a positive feedback loop that happens with that.
For sure.
You put in hard work, you see positive results from that, you're more likely to put in hard work later on. Like, there's nothing worse than like busting your butt and not getting anything out of it over and over and over again. And like that's kind of what I got whenever my wife and I opened up our practice straight out of school. Mm-hmm. And it was like a brand new challenge. We're trying to market and find new patients, and we're going out to all these events, and like literally gave up every weekend that we had, and like we're seeing like minimal results from it.
Yeah.
And like that's the hard part. It's easy whenever you're seeing the positive results from all the hard work. It makes it much easier to continue at it.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder whenever you're not necessarily getting that. So you kind of have to fall back on like, hey, I know that like you just got to fall back on faith sometimes. Like, I either have to pivot or I have to keep at it, and trust that it's something's going to happen.
Yeah, I keep on thinking about what this project that I'm doing right now. I mean, it's tough. It's so tough, and I've had scorns of people turn me down because I wasn't quote unquote big enough or whatever. Again, why I'm also appreciative to be able to speak with you. But it's tough, and I don't see, I post something that you're talking about, posting clicking the post button, and you're so excited to get some feedback. And sometimes I think I'll post something I'm in love with. I've put so much time and work into it, tweak so many details, and then I post it and I get like, whatever you're tracking, likes or views or whatever, I get minimal views or something, and I'm like, oh my god, so disheartening.
Oh my god, dude.
And you really have to reach deep. You're like, I poured my heart and soul in there, and 10 people watch this, or one person liked this. In my case, and it's really tough. And you're right. You have to reach back, and you have to really, I think, remember why you're doing what you're doing. And realize that not just because you like it doesn't mean everybody else is gonna like it. And then
it's so true.
Yeah, and you were talking about maybe you wanted to do something specific on your layout for your social media, but you kind of tweaked it to what you were getting feedback on, and you were crunching the analytics on the medium that you were using, and kind of going that way as well. And maybe that wasn't necessarily exactly what you wanted to do, but you kind of have to again be flexible and like for
that's
me,
the job part of it.
Exactly.
That's the job.
Yeah, but it's tough. I mean, again, I was thinking about the whole entire time. Like, you just got to keep on going, and you really do. And I don't know. Like, I get to learn from you, and I know even for the few people that do listen. I mean, I have no idea right now because I don't even have analytics yet for like certain mediums, which is awesome. But those few people that listen, and even for myself, being able to have the opportunity to learn from you, somebody that's definitely a little bit ahead of me, to say the least, is great to be able to speak with somebody like yourself, to learn from you, and then be able to share that information. Now, like, you're disseminating your own information. This is the type of information I want to be able to disseminate, and you're 110% able to communicate or disseminate, or you're 110% being able to help me disseminate the information that I would like to get out. And, you know,
Right.
I'm very appreciative of that. And I know there's people listening that are excited to be able to hear someone like yourself speak. And it's just really inspirational. And that's what it's about. Conversations with inspirational people. And you are one of those people. And I'm very excited to be able to share your story. And I think it's so cool because I know, like I said earlier, like, you see somebody like yourself or whoever, and you know, you're a chiropractor, which you didn't just become a chiropractor. You know, you have in my opinion, a successful social media page that didn't just happen overnight. I mean, you're saying, you know, so many years of schooling, and then you took a hiatus of schooling in the interim there for a while. So there's so many factors that come with this quote-unquote success, which of course you're continuing. You know, there's never really an end point, in my opinion. Like, you always want to do better and better yourself and learn more, be able to teach more people. But you said you came out of high school, you went to school, you know, you took time off, and it was because of that time off that you were ready for it. So it's such a long process, and by no means does it happen again overnight. It's just really a learning process for yourself, and figuring out when you're ready, because maybe somebody else was able to, you know, go straight into whatever their equivalent of was chiropractic school and find out what they wanted earlier. And you said you kind of fell into it, and that's totally fine. It's a different timeline for everybody, because a lot of times, you know, I think maybe I'm behind the curve than other people. And again, like, social media can be used on the inverse. It can be used negative, right? You can be comparing yourself to people very easily because everybody's out there. But I think you really just have to find your own pace, your own stride, you know, keep your head down and just go as fast as you can go.
Yeah, you just, especially with social, you have to, and business in general and life in general.
Yeah.
You have to take your success. Like, you have to relish your wins, you know?
Yes,
I mean,
so.
I still remember when I first started this whole thing of like, oh my God, I got 100 likes on that photo or on that video, you know? Or like, I remember when I first hit 1,000 followers after my first 2 years or a year and a half of posting stuff. I hit 1,000 followers, and this was like the greatest, like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is like so freaking amazing. And, you know, it took me like 2 years to go from 0 to 6,000. And then it took me 6 weeks to go from 6 to 10,000. Wow. Because overnight success, right? And just like you were saying, but it's like, you have to relish your wins. Like, when I hit 10,000, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I hit my first 1,000 likes on a video. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you have to be very appreciative of the moment.
Your win.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
You're totally right.
You can't diminish your success because somebody else
already obtained
is
that.
out there doing their thing. Like, you just, there's no benefit to doing that. There's no benefit to looking at someone else's success and saying, well, I'm not there yet. No, you freaking are killing it.
Yeah, man.
Like, because you're doing it and people are responding and you're in the process. And really, that's what all this is. It's just the process. Like, you have to just love that. You have to, like, love the day-to-day grind of it all, and you have to love your little wins. And when you start to learn to really just accept and love your wins, man, it makes this whole thing so much more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe a lot of times people are just chasing they want to have it all immediately. But for me, like, because we're talking about like putting in so many long hours into it, like, it's because of I put so much time and so much of my heart, honestly, into these projects, you know, into the editing, into the recording, whatever, the setup, whatever I'm doing. But it's because of all that hard work that when you obtain that success, no matter how small or how large it is, you're like, man, I did that. You know, like, I did that. I earned all that, or I helped that person out. And I think, like, you said so many good points there, but no matter where you are, like, be able to, like, be appreciative of yourself, of like what you're doing, and be able to relish in those moments that you're enjoying. And don't, I think, people always say like live for now, don't always be chasing something. And I think even in respects to what we're speaking about right now, you definitely have to do that, because it's a big part of our lives.
Yeah, and just remember that you're making it, like, always bring it back to like, what's the little goal? Like, obviously I have my big goals, I have my business goals, but like, it always comes back to that little goal of like, I'm here to help one person a day. And like, I got a message just today from somebody that was just like, hey, just wanted to take the time to say thank you, because I did this squat variation that you showed a few videos back, and it was the first time I squatted today without knee pain.
Wow.
And like, I was just freaking stoked for that person.
Yes.
And it just reaffirms everything. And like, you when you train yourself to, when that happens, you're just like, you let it light up your heart, like, you just have to let that little win light you up, because eventually you're going to have so much success that stuff's going to be common, and you have to really have to train yourself to remember, like, those little wins are how you got here. Those little wins are everything.
It's funny you say that. Yeah,
that's what we're after.
Yeah, I compare, or I try to, or I don't try. I try hard actually to compare everything that I speak with everybody about, and I remember everything I've talked about with everybody. And I know I spoke to a gentleman in Austria 2 conversations ago, Loreen, and he was talking about, again, similar things where you're saying, and everybody wants all the success immediately, but he said he's a very intense person, and he said, but are you ready to be able to handle that success when you have it, when you want, you have no idea what that is, but are you ready to do it? And like you said, if you just had all these hundreds of thousands of people all of a sudden, if you had 1,000 and then next day you had 500,000 people, could you deal with that? Would you be able to still reach back to people on an emotional level and be appreciative of everything? Probably not. You probably couldn't deal with it, and I was talking about, again, my metaphor was not nearly as good as the abundance of metaphors that he had. He's an amazing individual, but I was saying, like, people that were winning the lottery are not really good at retaining their money, as opposed to people that work their asses off for decades to earn those millions of dollars. Then I think it's shown here exactly with that. But I'm so glad to hear that you are, and I guess I'm eating my own words because I'm thinking about so many things at once, but you reach back out to your people, like you said, you reply to the first 100, or you try to reply to the first 100 comments, and then for Christ's sake, you have obviously an abundance of people hitting you up, and then you replied to me, you're like, yeah, man, just email me, we'll get it done, and we'll get it knocked out, and then here we are. And I'm very appreciative of that. I'm very appreciative of that, like I said, and I think it's really cool that you're doing that, and you're able to reciprocate for your viewers and the people that follow your information.
Yeah, I think there's a big scale as you go effect with that, right? Like, if you have that super overnight success, then it can shock. There's a shock factor there. Like, whoa, what do I do? What do I do now? It's overwhelming to me now. But like, if you're just gonna ease your way there, which, I mean, success. Let's be honest. I mean, I'm at almost 500,000 people following me now in 2 years. Like, that's still really fast.
Yeah.
That's insanely fast. But it hasn't felt like it was insanely fast, because I've just kind of scaled it up as I've gone along, to where, when I first started, I was filming with my cell phone. And, I had my wife hold the phone up, and we filmed something in my parents' house when we were out for a weekend. And, then I bought the camera, and then I bought the mic, and then I bought the lighting kit. And now I set up a home studio, because like, now I'm at that level where it's warranted.
Yeah.
But like, if I had gone from, 0 to 500,000, and like, all of a sudden I felt like I need to step my game up to, accommodate here, I may not have known what I was going to do. I may have felt like a little overwhelmed by that. But it seems much easier as you kind of like step into it. One thing that I've kind of done as just the opportunity has kind of come along as I started teaching. I started teaching my methods in my in seminars and stuff.
Okay.
And so I typically I started out by just like people would fly into Orlando where I'm at, and they would come to my clinic, and we started with just like one person flew in, and I taught them for 3 days. And then, then I had a group of three or four that came in, and we did that group.
Here.
But then but then I took on this one job where like we flew to Vancouver, and I did a group of 30.
Oh wow!
And like that was my first big group, and I had my wife with me, and so she assisted, and we handled it well. But it was definitely like there's still a shock factor there because like you had to kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
And then this year when I started like my full-on seminar tour, I started the year with a group of 50 up in Toronto, and it was too much. Yeah. Like it was more people than what I should have had in there for like I don't think I was necessarily ready for a group that size. I needed an extra assistant for a group that size. I needed to be able to make a better connection with people for a group that size. And so on all the others that we've done this year, I've scaled back to 30 to 35.
Okay.
And I've been very, very comfortable with that. Yeah. And I've slowly, and as I've gotten more and more comfortable with it, now I have another group of 50 coming up in September in London, and I'm gonna feel like totally ready to do that. And like that you got to just kind of like scale it up and take your time, and it'll come. Don't be in a rush.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And it's so funny to see that, it happens in every facet, of course. Like you were doing it utilizing social media, and then of course with your own practice and teaching people. But I think you have to be able to, like you said, test the waters as well. Like you jumped up to 50 people, and then you found out that it wasn't really right for you at that point in time. You didn't have that connection with people, which you of course want to be able to have and be able to articulate yourself to that mass amount of people. So you dialed it back for a little bit. Totally cool.
Right.
And then
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we need to make sure we say is like there is nothing wrong with testing the waters with things and then pivoting if you feel that you're just not there yet.
Yeah.
Like in last November, bring it back to the kind of social thing. Last around November, like everyone in the rehab world decided they were gonna bump their posting rates up to like two times a day.
Jeez.
Two, and some people even 3 times a day. And so in response to that, like I was going once a day really easily. And in response to that, I bumped mine up to 3 times a day. And I did 3 times a day for like 3 months. And it got to a point where it was like I couldn't keep up with filming the content, editing the content, putting it up there. But like that I could do. But I couldn't like get back to everyone. I couldn't answer all the questions. I couldn't be in my comment section. I couldn't make the connection with people that I wanted to make anymore. And it was really more about like, at that point it's like, I'm just chasing followers. Yeah. I'm not trying to cultivate an audience here. Yeah. And so I backed myself down to 2 times a day for a little bit to see if that was better. And then when my son was born, I just backed straight back down to 1 time a day. It was like, I'm going to play my long game. I'm going to cultivate my audience because like that connection that I'm making with people is still my number one. Yeah. And like, that's where I'm at, okay. And so I backed it down, and maybe if I get better systems in place down the road, I'll be able to bump it back up or something. Yeah. But right now I'm kind of like, I tested it. It wasn't for me. I backed out of it. And then you have to learn how to pivot. That's a huge part of, I think that there's a huge part of success there is like, you can't be afraid to just pivot. Yeah. Whenever like you give something its time, but like pivot off of it if it's just not for you.
Yeah. You got to have that elasticity, I guess, and be able to have flexibility.
Be flexible. Exactly. I call it being fluid. Like you got to be fluid.
Yeah.
Like,
what is it? Jet Li says you got to be like water, right? Right. I believe that's his quote, and that's one of my favorite quotes actually ever. is to be like water, to just take the shape of anything that's, you know, set in front of you, like the glass. And you say exactly like that. And whether it's business or life or any of the examples that you have given or I have given, you've got to be able to have that flexibility, that fluidness.
Yeah, totally.
Cool, man. Well, how can people find you? Who doesn't know how to find you? No, but let's talk. You are doing the what do you call it? The 101. Forgive me. The prehab 101. Prehab one. Yeah, word escaped me for a second. Speak towards that just one moment.
Sure. So Prehab 101 is my teaching company, and I have I do a 2-day seminar tour. So my first day is open to the general public, and we teach a lot of injury risk reduction techniques. So a lot of stuff on how to manage the stress you're putting on your body, how to move better, use good exercise technique, how to get good mobility, stuff like that. My second day is open to health and fitness professionals, so coaches, PTs, chiros, massage therapists, all that.
Very cool.
And I teach more there on how we assess clients, how we build a good thought process behind what we're doing and why we use all the tools that we use. So those are the 2 days, and teaching all over the place right now. I have a course coming up in New York in a couple of weeks, and then I'm in Vancouver and Madison, Wisconsin, and Montreal, and then I'm over into the UK for a little bit. So, but that's Prehab 101.
No, that's cool. That's really cool.
Anyone who searches that will be able to find more info about that. And then we've mentioned Instagram more than enough times here, but my handle there is dr.jacob.harden, and I'll pop right up if you search for him.
Awesome, man. Very, very appreciative of your time. I've had a wonderful conversation with you. Like I said when I did the introduction, I'm so excited to have you here because your information that you're disseminating clearly is very informative and very knowledgeable, and you're a very genuine and passionate guy. And I just want to tell you face to face that I am very thankful for all the information that you disseminate, and I'm sure there's plenty of other people. It's clear to see there's plenty of other people that are very appreciative of that too. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you for continuing to build absolutely incredible content. And I'm very excited to see the continuance of everything you're doing, whether it be on social media, and now you're definitely ramping up these Prehab 101s. So it's incredible to see also the fluidity of that as well, coming off of the page, if you will, and into a physical world, and you're actually now traveling around and teaching more and more people. So it's very exciting to see that evolution as well.
Thanks, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. All right, man. Well, it's wonderful speaking with you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too.
All right, thanks.